Don't come to the holiday trip. Mom texted bluntly. No one wants you or your kids there, my brother chimed in, adding a laughing emoji. I replied, then I'll stop covering the costs. Just 15 minutes later, I removed myself from all the shared reservations and payments. They kept joking in the chat, unaware of what the airline would do next. Hey, Reddit. The message came through while I was folding laundry. No arguments, no calls, just a flat text that felt like an afterthought. Don't come to the holiday trip. I stared at my screen, one sock still in hand, hoping for some context, a typo, or a punchline. Seconds later, the next message hit. No one wants you or your kids there. This one was from my mom. No emojis, no kind words, just a blunt statement. Before I could even process it, my brother added a laughing emoji in the group chat, nothing more. I sat down slowly on the bed, laundry forgotten. This was how my family acted. No explosions, just casual cruelty, as if it were normal and deserved. This wasn't the first time they made it clear we were optional, but it was the first time they said it so openly. The holiday trip had been in the works for months, flights booked, hotel reserved, a group chat buzzing with excitement. I had quietly paid for more than half of it. It was easier that way. Scrolling through the chat, I saw my own messages from weeks ago. I'll handle the reservations. Don't worry about the deposits. I had said it without thinking, as I often did. I typed carefully, okay, that's it. Almost instantly, my brother responded, see, that's why nobody respects you. You always just accept it. I smiled because he was right, and this time, acceptance didn't mean giving in. I set my phone down and looked at the wall. My kids were in the living room, arguing over a board game, laughing and happy, completely unaware they had just been excluded from a family vacation they were excited about. And I understood something crucial: they hadn't left me out, they had left them out. That's when I felt a shift, not anger, but determination. I picked up my phone again and typed one more message, then I'll stop covering the reservations. I hit send. The chat exploded with confusion. What does that mean? Stop being dramatic. You're joking, right? My brother sent another laughing emoji, but my mom didn't respond, which told me everything. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my email, then the booking app, and the airline website. Every reservation was under my name. Every payment method was mine. Because I was organized, responsible, and they trusted me with money, just not with respect. One by one, I removed myself from the flights, hotel, shared bookings, and payment authorizations. No announcements, no warnings, just quiet clicks. 15 minutes later, I was finished. I put my phone down and returned to the laundry. That night, my kids sat at the dinner table, excitedly discussing winter break. When are we leaving again? My daughter asked. I took a deep breath. We're not going on that trip, I replied gently. They looked confused. I didn't share what was said or repeat the words no one wants you. Plans changed, I said. But we'll do something else together. My son studied my face. Are you okay? He asked quietly. I smiled. I will be. That night, my phone buzzed nonstop with calls I didn't answer and messages I didn't read because I already knew what they contained. The next morning, my mom finally called. I answered. What did you do? She demanded. I stepped outside. I removed myself, I replied calmly. You can't just do that, she snapped. Everything was booked. Yes, I said, by me. There was a pause, and then something new crept into her voice: concern. The airline says there's an issue, she said carefully. Something about payment. I leaned against the counter. Oh, I said that. She waited for me to explain, but I didn't. You need to fix this, she insisted. Right now. I thought about her previous message: don't show up. No one wants you or your kids there. No, I said into the silence. Then my brother's voice cut in. She'd put me on speaker. What kind of game are you playing? He snapped. I'm not playing, I replied. I'm listening. To what? He scoffed. To what you said, I answered. And I believed you. You're ruining the trip, my mom cried. No, I said softly. You did when you decided my kids didn't belong. She started yelling. My brother cursed, but something had changed. They weren't in control anymore. I hung up. An hour later, the group chat went silent. Then the airline email arrived just for me, not for them. Payment method removed. Action required. I looked at it, then closed the app. My family didn't realize that once I removed myself from the bookings, the airline was still responding, and so was I. I didn't open the airline email immediately. This wasn't a dramatic choice, it was instinct. I knew that once I read it, whatever illusion my family still clung to would finally shatter. Part of me wanted to give that shattering time to settle. So, I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, listening to my kids argue over cereal like nothing had changed. For the first time since the messages had come in, I felt steady. My phone buzzed again, then again, then again. I flipped it over, not wanting to check because I already knew they were panicking. My family was adept at being cruel when they felt secure. They joked, mocked, and dismissed, but they were terrible when consequences appeared quietly, without warning, without someone to blame. And that was what was happening now. When I finally opened the email, it was exactly as I expected. The subject line was neutral: polite action required. Payment authorization removed. Inside, the wording was even calmer. The airline explained that because the primary cardholder had removed herself from the booking, all linked reservations were now unpaid and unconfirmed. Seats had been released, and the itinerary was no longer valid. If they wanted to rebook, they would need to start over at current prices. I exhaled slowly, not in satisfaction, but in relief. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. My brother. I answered this time. "What did you do?" he shouted the moment I picked up. I held the phone away from my ear, waiting. When he finally paused to breathe, I spoke. I stepped back. I said, "You ruined the trip." "No," he snapped. "I stopped funding a trip I was told not to attend." "You can't just do that," he yelled. I smiled faintly. I said. "Because it was my payment." My mom's voice broke in, shrill and panicked. "They cancelled everything," she cried. "Flights, hotel, everything." I leaned back in my chair. "Yes," I said. "That's what happens when the cardholder removes authorization." There was a long silence, the kind that tells you someone is realizing something too late. "We already told the kids," my mom whispered. "They're devastated." I closed my eyes. "Did you tell them why?" I asked. She didn't answer. My brother exploded again. "This is petty," he shouted. "You're punishing everyone because you felt insulted." I shook my head, even though he couldn't see it. "No," I said. "I'm responding to what you said." "What are you talking about?" I repeated his words back to him slowly. "No one wants you or your kids there." Silence. "You don't get to say that and still expect my money to show up like nothing happened." My mom tried a new tactic, soft voice, tears. "Sweetheart," she said, "you know we didn't mean it like that." I laughed quietly. "You meant it exactly like that," I replied. "You just didn't think there would be consequences." The call devolved quickly after that: accusations, guilt, revisionist history. "After everything we've done for you, you're tearing this family apart. You always overreact." I let them talk because none of it mattered anymore. When I finally spoke again, my voice was steady. "You told me not to show up," I said. "So I didn't, financially too." Then I hung up. The rest of that day was chaos on their end. Texts poured in from relatives, aunts, cousins, people who had never asked about my kids suddenly had opinions. I didn't respond. That evening, my daughter found me on the couch. "Are we in trouble?" she asked quietly. I pulled her close. "No," I said. "We're safe." She hesitated. "Grandma sounded mad." I swallowed. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "people get mad when they can't control things anymore." She nodded slowly. That made sense to her. The next morning, the truth finally came out. My sister posted in the family chat, not angrily, just embarrassed. "Just so everyone knows, the trip was cancelled because the payments weren't actually shared. We didn't realize everything was under one person." One person, not my name, just implication. My brother followed up. "We're rebooking. This is handled." But it wasn't, because they couldn't rebook. Prices had doubled, and availability was gone. The family trip quietly shrank. A few days later, my mom showed up at my door, no warning, no invitation. She looked smaller than I remembered, not physically, but emotionally. "You embarrassed us," she said, standing in my doorway. I crossed my arms. "You told me my kids weren't wanted," I replied. "That's what embarrassment looks like." She scoffed. "You could have just talked to us." I met her eyes. "I tried," I said. "You laughed." She was quiet then. Finally, "What do you want?" she asked. I didn't hesitate. "I want my kids treated like they matter," I said. "And if that can't happen, I want distance." She shook her head. "You're choosing money over family." "No," I replied. "I'm choosing my children over disrespect." She left without another word. Weeks went by. The family group chat went silent, not dramatically, just faded, and something unexpected happened. My kids relaxed. They laughed more. They stopped asking why we weren't invited to things because they weren't being reminded they were optional. One night, my son said something that stuck with me. "I don't miss it," he admitted. "I just didn't know I was allowed not to." That's when I knew I had made the right choice.